So let me first just paint to you the two extremes, and then also let you know that's actually not how life works. And Donald Trump is actually rejecting both extremes. Here is Lindsey Graham. This is just lunacy. This kind of analysis is not helpful. This kind of approach, this kind of argument, it has nothing to do with nuclear weapons at this point. This is now that we want to go all in and take out the regime. It's time for us to close the chapter on the Iranian Ayatollah and his henchmen and start a new chapter in the Middle East. And that sounds good, doesn't it? But what have we learned when it comes to wars, and especially wars in the Middle East? What you draw up on a whiteboard rarely happens. What you think theoretically is going to occur, there might be unintended and unforeseen consequences, especially when you're talking about a country 2.5 times the size of Texas. It has 90 million people and was an ancient and great power with well over a dozen ethnic groups. You have underground Christians. You don't really have many Jews left in Persia. But also you have secular younger Persians. Who's going to run the country exactly, Lindsey Graham? This sounds like Hillary Rodham Clinton in Libya. So I'm pointing to the first extreme right now, the neoconservative extreme, the we must go take off the head of the snake right now. And Donald Trump is doing a phenomenal job of resisting these calls for regime change. He's playing around with it on Truth Social, as he should rhetorically. President Trump should rhetorically taunt and rhetorically threaten regime change. Absolutely, he should engage in information warfare. Play cut 285.
Be all in, President Trump, in helping Israel eliminate the nuclear threat. If we need to provide bombs to Israel, provide bombs. If we need to fly planes with Israel, do joint operations. But here's the bigger question. Wouldn't the world be better off if the Ayatollahs went away and replaced by something better? Wouldn't Iran be better off? It's time to close the chapter on the Iranian Ayatollah and his henchmen. Let's close that chapter soon and start a new chapter in the Mideast, one of tolerance, hope, and peace.
Okay, that sounds good, but that's pathologically insane. I'm sorry, it is. How do you know it's going to be better? Yeah, the Ayatollah is awful. But maybe he's one of the few guys that can keep that country together and not have a 90 million person civil war. Lindsey Graham is so consistently out of his mind, it's hard to even comprehend. Iran is hugely diverse. It is a massive country. Do the people agitating for war even know that? Because be clear, regime change is war. Just to understand, regime change is not like changing the head coach at the Chicago Bears. It's not how it works. Oh, we're going to bring a new head coach. I think that some people think that it's as easy in like sports terms. Oh, we're just, okay, Nick Saban is gone. We're going to go bring in the coach from University of Washington. Sorry, Andrew. Oh, okay. Mario Cristobal left the University of Oregon. We're going to go bring in Dan Lanning, which actually ended up being very good regime change. It doesn't work that way. It's not like a clean transfer. Typically in the Mideast, it's very messy, creates a quagmire, and then there is civil war. Do you understand how large Iran is? It's massive. It's a very big country. It's mountainous. It makes Afghanistan and Iraq look like a cakewalk. Just look at this beast of a country with all the different regions, all the different dialects. If we could put that up on screen. And then you have a major refugee concern of Mohammedans that will come to Europe and endanger more Christians and Jews, and Mohammedans that will come to America. No, that is wrong. So that is one extreme. Now, Donald Trump rejects that, and he says, no, I don't want regime change. He's never ran on regime change. He doesn't believe in regime change. He is resistant to that. But there is another extreme. There is another extreme, and I get the temptation to be in the other extreme. I actually agree with a lot of this other extreme, a lot. I think it's healthy to have this other extreme more than the neoconservative extreme, because this extreme has been underrepresented in the public dialogue and discourse the last 20 years. The other extreme, is one that I have deep respect and reverence for, because I actually think if we had that other extreme, we would not have invaded Iraq. This other extreme is philosophically important. It's important to consider, and that's the Ron Paul extreme. And I love Ron Paul. Ron Paul is awesome. I would have Ron Paul on the show regularly. He is a hero because Ron Paul had the courage to challenge old sacred cows of the Republican Party. He made people defend the indefensible. But the Ron Paul perspective is strictly isolationist. He would say, who cares if oil goes to $140 a barrel? That's not our role. We don't need to police the Strait of Hormuz. It doesn't matter if Iran gets a nuclear weapon. Kind of fortress America, fortify it, and let the rest of the world do what it wants to do. Sounds good, but it doesn't work, as the American economy is actually largely dependent on intertwined global trade. You don't have to like it. It's the way it is. I'm going to keep on building up these two extremes because President Donald Trump actually finds himself in the arithmetic mean and a very prudent middle to weigh both options. He is not an isolationist nor a neocon. He's an American patriot. So you have these two extremes. I honestly don't think the neoconservative extreme needs to be represented philosophically anymore. It's uninteresting to me. They've done a mess of Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, the entire Middle East, Ukraine. We know what the neoconservatives believe. I do think hearing out, and honestly, I agree with a lot of the more, I think isolationist is used as a pejorative, but let's just say restrained community. But it doesn't matter what Charlie Kirk believes. It's actually not that relevant. Let me tell you what President Trump has in front of him. And this is the stuff of which statesmen are made. A statesman is a man at the highest moment when you have the weight of the shoulders, like Churchill or Lincoln, of the world on your shoulders. You act with prudence and not on ideological fervor. President Donald Trump is a man made for this moment. This is why President Trump was elected president of the United States. So on one side, he's getting phone calls from Lindsey Graham. Mr. President, we need to invade Iran and liberate the mullahs. Wrong. Like that's a non-starter. I'm sorry, George W. Bush, that was an administration ender for George W. Bush. And the more that we remind people about Iraq and Afghanistan, I actually think it allows us towards a healthy way of viewing what's happening in Iran. And then the other side, which is the online MAGA base, especially the younger MAGA base, is very against U.S. involvement in Iran. And I understand it. I share it. I get it. I totally understand it. We've known nothing but quagmire, lies, deception, intel agencies that have spied on Trump, intel agencies that lied about weapons of mass destruction, intel agencies that misled us about Libya, intel agencies that led us about almost every single corner of the region. We took an online poll. 90% of our audience and 400,000 people voted were against the United States getting involved in a war in Iran. President Donald Trump has been saying this for nearly 10 years. Here's a montage of President Trump saying Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Play cut 315.
You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let it happen because bad things will happen if that happens. But everybody stopped. They were ready to make a deal. We would have made a deal that was great for everybody. No nuclear weapons. You can't give them nuclear weapons. Now they're going to have a nuclear weapon. But I wanted to make a deal with them. No nuclear weapons. You can't have nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are the single greatest threat to this world, to the whole world. And Viktor Orban understands that, and some others do too. I just didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I said, we're going to make a great deal. Everybody's going to be happy. You're going to be rich as hell again. Everything's going to be great. But you cannot have a nuclear weapon.
You can't let Iran have nuclear weapons.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
And that's just a short little taste of what he's been saying for 10 years. It's the man in the arena that counts. It's easy to lob criticisms, easy to say, oh, why is it you are even mobilizing the USS Nimitz, and we have no idea how this is going to work out. But I encourage you, as you view the next couple of days, to not view things overly ideological. In fact, we should resist ideological fervor, saying, oh, take out the oil fields. No one wants poverty for the Iranian people. You take out the oil fields, get ready for $180 a barrel gas, a lot of Iranians starting to starve, and potentially an Iranian civil war. Take out the Ayatollah. Resist that temptation. That's not prudence. That's not self-control. That's something else talking. That's a zeal. And that very same zeal got us involved in a pile of garbage in Iraq. It all felt good with shock and awe in March of 2003. We're unstoppable. We're going to take Iraq in a weekend. Turns out, it didn't work that way. A lot of people died. A lot of Americans died unnecessarily. And so President Donald Trump finds himself in the decision-making chair. President Donald Trump, 10 years ago, said two things, and he ran on it. Not just recently, but he ran on it for a decade. And both these things can simultaneously be true only thanks to the realpolitik approach of President Donald Trump and the MAGA Agenda, a book that I wrote. These two things he said 10 years ago. Iraq war was a bloody catastrophe and a disaster, and will never happen again, and Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. Only President Donald Trump can hold both those things in his hands. Only President Trump, with prudence and practicality and wisdom, is able to weigh them both, thread the needle, and walk the tightrope. President Donald Trump is a man made for this moment, and we should trust him.